So I know all of you are waiting for coffee. Me too. I'll keep it quick. I won't gloss over things, but I'll try to keep it crisp. I'll be very happy to talk more about the collaborative initiative after the talk over the break. So this session was titled From Research to Practice, and it's very evident everything has been presented shows that collaboration is a key while taking research and converting into action on the ground. So I'm going to talk about another collaborative initiative which is focused in its theme. It's on connectivity, and it's called the Coalition for Wildlife Corridors. Just a quick introduction. Most of you have seen this map of fragmentation across the globe. India is a bright spot which has very high fragmentation across the country. But despite that, we are a stronghold for several wide-ranging mammal species. And they're not just restricted to some areas, there's also functional connectivity and movement between these particular areas. However, these connectivity spaces or corridors are under threat. India is a large human population that's still growing and is changing rapidly. So while a lot of us, a lot of NGOs are working on connectivity in different areas, to confront the challenges that we're facing, that corridors are facing, there's a need to look beyond organization boundaries and come together to work towards a common goal. And with this thought, the Coalition for Wildlife Corridors was formed. It was formed a couple of years ago. The idea was mooted in 2018. Like all things collaboration, I think it took a few years for it to become a reality. We started the coalition in 2020. This is a photo from that meeting. And this group that got together, 8 NGOs at that time. Now we are 30 NGOs currently, and it's still growing. We initially drafted a set of things we wanted to work on. So the idea was to think about what would make sense to work collaboratively on beyond what we're already doing. For what things should we come together and combine strengths. Some of the things that we should start with included advocacy, co-developing pieces for advocacy, working together, collaborating wherever possible, and also creating a database of everything connectivity in corridors. So essentially one website and a portal which is a go-to place for everything corridors. So that was one idea that we thought we should all work towards. Along with, of course, co-designing and developing standardized approaches that can be used across so that the data is comparable and so on. There was also a conversation, of course, around data sharing and working together, but that's going to take time of that actually happening. But standardized approaches can at least ensure the published data is comparable. So I started with I'll talk about, so we're doing a bunch of things together. It's been 2 years and we've been working as smaller working groups. The whole coalition doesn't work on everything that we do, but we form smaller working groups. And I'll talk about a few things that are more relevant for converting research into, say, something that's useful for practice. So we did build a portal and a website as a coalition. And on that website, we have a data portal, which is currently just a map there with locations of corridors. So this is not an exhaustive list. This is the list we could compile from published literature and from the network that we have so far. This is still expanding, and we also have a small tab below which says if the corridor you're working on or know about doesn't exist here, please contact us and we'll be happy to collaborate to work on a profile. So what we're doing with all these locations on the map is each location over time will be associated with a detailed profile of the corridor. So if you click on one of the locations, a pop-up appears which tells you some things about the corridor. What's the human population density, what's the proportion of natural habitat versus agriculture, and so on. Now, for some corridors, we also have a link that says download detailed corridor profiles. and which is essentially a PDF of everything that we know about the corridor. It's a review of literature, it's basic analysis based on remotely sensed data, it's expert opinion. In some cases, it also includes information from the forest department. So wherever that's feasible, that we're doing that. So these are developed across organizations in the coalition and beyond. So as I said, we work as working groups. So the working groups form when they are needed and dissolve if the work's done. So one such working group developed a format for the corridor profiles to keep it consistent so that at some point we can also work towards compiling all the information across corridors. So the idea was also to work towards developing a status of India's corridor sort of report. One thing that the National Wildlife Action Plan has also identified. So it also links to, in a way, government policy document. Along with the long PDFs, which can vary in length depending on how much information we have about that corridor sections of tiger conservation plans, to see what they had, what was missing, and how can we strengthen them. So the working group here worked on, we looked at 14 TCPs across India and made a checklist. NCCI has excellent guidelines to say what should be in a corridor conservation plan, which is quite exhaustive. Share a corridor. The corridor is mentioned in TCPs of both tiger reserves. There's lack of information on how, what coordination will be there amongst them. A lot of times, especially in central India, these corridors are huge. They're like 2,000 to 4,000 square kilometers and overlap multiple territorial forest divisions. Right? Are there elements of the conservation plans that are incorporated in the territorial conservation plans? Mostly missing. Such things were missing. And the idea of this was not to just identify gaps and say, these are the gaps and this is the thing. We always thought of this exercise as the first step to then have a consultative workshop with the forest department. And this is just an example of an infographic that was created for the website and the social media. It's for a corridor in South India and just gives an overview. So there are different kinds of material being developed around corridors. Corridor planning and management, of course, but also effective implementation of policies, especially around linear infrastructure. This is just an overview of what's inside, a quick look inside the corridor profile of Satpura range. A lot of illustrations, descriptive